talking about in transportation is $62 million that would fund Met Council and bus transportation in the metro area. A $4.5 billion transportation bill is being held hostage by $62 million. I'm in the middle of that. I know what the implications of that are. We are doing everything we can to avoid a shutdown of our transportation and our transportation construction season this year over $62 million. We made proposals for 3 weeks before the session ended. Let's pull out the Met Council piece of that. And that's the only piece of general fund money that is contested in our bill. Let's take that out of our transportation bill. Let's pass a $4.5 billion transportation bill. Continue the continuity of repairing our roads, our potholes, all of our contractors, all of our African employees that are part of MnDOT. Let's keep them all working this summer. Let's not lose this construction season. Over $62 million of general fund that we can't agree on. I can't get the governor, the governor's office, and the governor's staff to move on that. They want to leave 7,000 state employees' jobs on the table for a potential budget shutdown over $62 million in the Met Council. That just gives you a sense from one budget area of how difficult these negotiations are with this administration. I'm extremely concerned that where our governor and his administration want to take us into a budget shutdown. Controversial terms, controversial discussion. That is the way that I and a lot of other chairs see it, because we are so close. Education funding, K through 12. We've met the governor. This past week, we made another offer to him for an additional $80 million to go to K through 12 education, eliminating some of the tax reductions that we wanted to make in our tax bill in order to accomplish that. The governor has rejected it. And Health and Human Services, a $1.6 billion increase in Health and Human Services for the next biennium. $1.6 billion, almost an 8% increase in that budget area. Not good enough. The frustration is very high on our side. When we originally campaigned, let's go back to when we were campaigning, running for re-election. We talked about living within our means. We knew at that time that the budget forecast was predicting about $30 billion that was going to come into the state coffers. We said we can live within our means, hold virtually all of our budget areas harmless in the process, live with the same budget that we had the last biennium, and we won an election based off of that. Of course, the governor won an election too, saying that he wants to increase taxes on the rich. But when the budget forecast came in on February 15th, it showed that we were going to have $34.2 billion in additional revenue coming into the state. We had a huge discussion in the House Republican caucus and our caucus that went on for 2 weeks, trying to convince our fellow legislators that living within our means means preparing a budget at 34.2, which was the forecasted amount of the revenue coming into the state. 2 weeks out within our own caucus. Virtually everybody got up to speak and talk 2 or 3 times about why they thought we should stay at that $32 billion, or why we should, based off of the forecast, increase spending for the state of Minnesota. We won the argument. We came up with $34.2 billion, an increase of $2.5 billion, or about 6.5% overall for our state budget. So, this argument that we aren't negotiating, that we're not willing to meet the governor halfway, it's just it's not a good argument. It's not a legitimate argument. We have compromised. We have moved. This $34.2 billion budget that we are proposing is the largest budget in Minnesota state history. If you look at it and think about it in those terms, it's the largest budget in Minnesota state history today. That's compromise amongst a bunch of conservative folks that believe that we need to actually reduce government regulation. We need to reduce the amount of government that is in do it any other way that you want. But we see that as a compromise. And we can live with $34.2 billion. We can increase K-12 education. We can increase health and human services, take care of our most needy citizens, and live within our means. And that's what we are going to do. And I believe that if I could